as a shorty playing in the front yard of the crib, fell down and I bumped my head. Somebody helped me up and asked me if I bumped my head. I said, yeah. So then they said, oh, so that means you gonna switch it on them. I said, yeah, flip mode. Flip mode is the greatest. And as a shorty, I was always told that if I ain't gonna be part of the greatest, I gotta be the greatest myself. Come on, yeah.
Hello again. Segment 2 of the Flashback. We are continuing to roll on. NFL free agency, trades, deals, all sorts of stuff happening. At least I guess actually you could say it's under the table right now. About to be on top of the table as we head into our first day of the new season. Turning a new leaf into the NFL for the 2015 year. So we have a lot to talk about there. NBA news as well. Some movers and shakers in the standings. A couple teams on the rise, starting to slide a little bit, getting closer to the playoffs, under that 20-game mark. So very intense right now as far as anybody who possibly has a chance. We'll take a look at the West and the East. And, of course, in the top 25, getting close to March Madness. It's the busy time of year, very busy time of year. And don't forget, we also have our latest segment, brand new segment or bit. We just do bits and pieces here.
just cobbled together with glue and duct tape.
Very cobbled. All right, but let's get into free agency first. I want to talk about that because it's been a very busy season, although none of this stuff has officially happened.
That's
and let
right.
me tell you, Roger Goodell is not happy about this.
we are hours away from free agency being official still.
Have you heard his guff now?
Yeah, he sounds like a petulant child.
You know what? How about it doesn't really matter? Yeah. It doesn't really matter. Just make free agency start, at the combine.
Yeah.
When it starts at the combine or whenever, some 1 week period after the Super Bowl. Because let's be honest, as soon as the Super Bowl's over,
that's all everybody's talking about.
It's the next season.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody starts talking about what was my team going to do to bolster their chances next year. So yeah, you might as well go with the flow, Roger.
And if now to say that you can't do it before that, maybe a week after the Super Bowl, I understand that.
Oh, of course,
because there's obviously going to be some meddling constantly. You can't stop people from meddling, but to try to cut things off for an extra month and a half for no reason.
Yeah.
Really, you're perpetuating all this leakage, as they say.
And that's exactly what it is. And that's what he's getting so upset about is all the leaks, all the information coming out there. Have you heard of the internet?
Hold it together. If somebody knows about this trade, our whole league will go down. Come on, give me a break. All right, well, let's start with the biggest one. And Ndamukong Suh is obviously the biggest name and the biggest body out there.
That's right.
In terms of the free agency, looking to be a record deal with the Dolphins, a record in terms of the total, really, 17 or the $100 million. But it seems like I'm not going to get too into numbers here anyhow. Let's just talk about it as the right fit. It's a big contract. We all know it's a big contract. Is it worth investing that much in one single guy? I say no.
Yeah, it always comes to mind, and it's not the trade, but I always think of the Herschel Walker deal. When Herschel Walker got traded from the Dallas Cowboys, and one player does not make a team. Mm-hmm. That was proven that when you build through having an entire team of guys and having that much money devoted to one player seems like it cripples you for getting other players to complement him. And you're setting yourself up for failure.
And a perfect example for Detroit, Suh, first off, as a player, you have to decide what's important to you. Yeah. Is it important to win or is it important to get paid?
Yeah.
And let's be honest, it doesn't matter how much you get paid, you're going to blow it all. So does it really matter if you're the highest paid or not?
Maybe more limos, more parties. Yeah, I don't know.
Cristal is getting expensive. Have you seen the cost of Cristal lately?
I have not. I have not kept up on the Cristal futures. Yeah, it's tough. It's one of those things where I think it's also a status thing. I have to say that the more money you make, you can say that you're the highest paid player, you're the highest paid defensive lineman, what have you. It is kind of an ego thing as well to be the highest paid player.
Which is sad when you see the old NFL films, people talking about their careers, their illustrious career. You don't hear Frank Tarkenton saying, between 70 and 73, I was highest paid.
Although I'd like to see that. I bet that quote exists out there somewhere.
Yeah, and in that exact tone as well.
That's how Frank Tarkenton sounded. Spot on.
But I can't believe what the Dolphins are doing here. They're essentially crippling themselves on a defensive standpoint.
Right.
Detroit's going to be fine. That they saved up so much money, actually, by just letting Sue go.
By letting him go,
and
right.
I thought it was a great idea to let him go to the open market and see what the open market pays for him, because to pay $26, almost $27 million for a guy for one season with no guarantees that he even wants to be in the city,
right?
No matter what they're building towards, and they have Van Noy that they came in, the linebacker out of BYU. He's a solid player defensively.
Sure.
They're an opportunistic defense anyway,
right?
So they'll be fine. And with that extra money, they're probably going to be better off.
Yeah, it's I don't know. I've always been of the mindset, like I said, where I think it's better to build an entire team versus spending all your cash on one guy. And again, that's nothing against Ndamukong Suh. He is a heck of a player. I mean, that guy can flat out play, but I think that's the wrong move.
Well, let's get on to the next one because there's quite a few. Just today, the most recent one, and then I want to touch back on another one. Byron Maxwell has signed with the Eagles, one of the Legions of Boom brothers.
That's right.
He is over there in Philly now. Now Maxwell, he wasn't starting. He was kind of but he was a major player.
He was a big factor
in the Seahawks defense. Yeah, and they knew he was going to be a kind of a marquee guy on the free agent market. So no expectations for either. He's going to make his money where he needs to be. He's not going to be the starter, obviously, so he wants to maximize his opportunities. Can't blame him for there. Great pickup by the Eagles.
I think so, too. I think he's a hard worker. He's a good guy. And, I think that's just a fantastic pickup. And it was a very much a big need for the Eagles, too. They needed a cornerback in a big way. They got burned through the air a lot last year.
Eagles making a lot of moves. Another one of those defenses that was opportunistic, not necessarily a good defense, but an opportunistic defense.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah. Well, I'm just, they were my fantasy football defense, so I know they were very effective.
I know all about Philadelphia.
They were scoring me touchdowns, but then I look at the box score, I was like, wow, they gave up a lot of yards.
It's the old bend but don't break.
Yeah. So it worked out for me, but they have been making a lot of moves in this offseason. One of the more busier teams. Another one of those players, obviously, McCoy. Let him go. They said, hey.
LaShawn McCoy, yeah.
So they let him go to the Bills. They trade him to the Bills, bring in
Kiko Alonso, a few others.
Mm-hmm.
But Kiko was the main haul for that. And so it seems like they're really working on their defense. They went out and got Kiko Alonso, a great, I guess last year was his rookie, 2 years ago was his rookie year. Mm-hmm. And a great linebacker, great young linebacker. And then, of course, Maxwell, cornerback. So they're definitely intent on improving their defense, which was a weak spot for them last year. So
they let Corey Williams
yes.
go. And I want to say that the Hawks were looking at Corey Williams. He was looking at some other team, but anyway, we won't get into that one. But McCoy with the Bills, I found that very interesting in the sense that McCoy's attitude, I think, kind of showed why Chip Kelly didn't have any problem getting rid of him.
Yeah, and I would agree with that entirely. And I have a little bit of inside knowledge only in the sense that I know Chip Kelly's system and I know what he looks for in a player, being an Oregon Ducks fan. Of course, he was an Oregon Ducks coach for a couple years. And Chip Kelly is very much about buying into the system. You are either a Chip Kelly guy or you're not. It has nothing to do with anything other than your work ethic and how good of a character character guy you are in the locker room.
Yeah.
And you look at the guys who are going, and there's a lot of talent leaving Philadelphia, and a lot of people are up in arms. However, I look at it as more as Chip Kelly finally has full control of his player personnel, and he's making the team in his image. He wants the team to do what he says, to be his kind of guys.
Which is understandable. You always see a lot of guys coming in and bringing in players that they're familiar with, that they played against when they were coaches in college, whatever the case may be. Carroll bringing in USC guys and, UW guys or whatever.
Right.
That's perfectly understandable. And McCoy, probably really good work ethic, obviously.
Sure.
Getting to the place where he is. Probably has a fairly decent attitude as far as infractions and things off the field, hasn't gotten into trouble and stuff. But it seemed to be more of that locker room, trying to take over the locker room and
very
be
much so.
the man in the locker room.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right, and I think that the precedent was set the year before when they got rid of Deshaun Jackson.
Yeah,
the same kind of thing. And I'm not equating LaShawn McCoy to Deshaun Jackson. I think they are two different, but it's that same idea that Chip Kelly, for his system to work, needs total control, and he needs the players to buy in. And if you're not going to do that, and you're going to, like you said, take over the locker room, he's got no use for you because all it's going to do is make his system not work.
And I'm not sure what happened because now, McCoy was saying when it first happened, when the trade happened, he wasn't going to be signing with the Bills, refused it, kicking, screaming, going along with it, looking like trying to pick up a cat who just doesn't want to be held. So he heads over to the Bills, and one of the statements that he made was, I've been a Pennsylvania guy my whole life. I don't want to leave here. I understand
and that is true. That is true.
Yeah, he went high school, born and raised in Pennsylvania, went to Pittsburgh, went to Philly. But I think what he maybe forgot is that Buffalo is actually 2.5 hours away from Pittsburgh.
Right. You didn't get shipped off to the West Coast. You didn't get shipped off to Florida.
You know what's shady? Your geography. Okay. Yeah. It's not like he shipped him, to Detroit or something.
Yeah.
Then I could understand.
Your family can still drive up and see you. Not even fly. They can drive up and see you. They'll be fine.
And why would he be mad at the Bills? Why would he take it out on the Bills when this is a team who's really trying to move on and push and get that organization established again?
Right.
So I was kind of baffled by that a bit.
Yeah, it did seem. I think it's hard to say. We always say the NFL is a business, and it is. But there are still personal feelings that come into play. And for a guy like LaShawn McCoy, who's played his whole career in Pennsylvania, I'm sure he did have some hurt feelings, and he just didn't express himself very well on the way out.
Yeah, I understand that, but I just did not get the geography thing. It's like, dude, it's 2 hours further from where you're playing in college.
There's a little more snow, but other than that, it's essentially the same.
And Pittsburgh and Buffalo, they're the same style of cities.
Yeah, very blue collar,
old industry, trying to find and rebirth themselves right now in the further technology and stuff. Kind of get away from that the old steel and the old industry stuff, but still very blue collar, as you were saying. All right, other one there, Darrelle Revis. His contract not going to be reset with the Patriots, so he's going to become a free agent.
Not picking up the option on Revis Island.
And this may just be a regular move, contractual move for the Patriots. I don't see Revis really wanting to play anywhere else. He has the ring, and why would you want to go back to the Jets? Seriously, unless he really liked the Jets. I don't know. Can't get into that. But for Revis and the free agent market, that's just maybe a thing where, hey, we got to let you go because we're going to have to re-sign you. So it's your choice. You can take a little bit less money, but this is the bottom line. We know what we can afford. Right now, we can't afford what we're paying you, so we technically have to drop you off.
Yeah, and that could very well be it, is that they're just looking at it as a little bit of a cost-cutting, and it could just be, like you said, a technicality at this point, and he might re-sign with New England, which would be the smart move on his behalf, I believe. Like you said, where are you going to go that's better? You're coming off a Super Bowl win with the champs. You're playing with Tom Brady. I mean, come on.
Yeah, you stay in New England. You won Super Bowls. You're still contributing. You still have they still play in with the style that you like, the press coverage, which is what he excels at. He's not a runner anymore.
Nope. Those days have passed. He's in the twilight of his career.
Yeah, not that he's slow, but he's still he's just got to go with his stronger strengths. And so, what's going to happen if you go to New York? You're going to go to New York, and they're just going to say, you should never come back. And they're going to start yelling at you and being even more critical. So what's the point? Just stay in New England and be happy.
Yeah, win some games and keep your Revis Island legacy intact.
You want to hang out in New York City for the weekend? That's fine.
But driving distance.
Amtrak. There's a direct down in. Okay. You get the point. One of the big surprises for me was Reggie Cobb re-signing with the Packers. Not so much that it wasn't a good fit and everything like that, but I just didn't think that the Packers just signing Nelson, they have Aaron Rodgers on that big deal that he signed, 2 years ago, I want to say he re-upped his deal.
That sounds right,
So they're kind of in a flux in terms of money-wise. I didn't think that they could really necessarily really wanted to expend $10 million on Cobb, but I think it's well worth it. 4 for $40 million. Great re-sign. I just thought he was probably going to try to take another opportunity somewhere. Glad to see the move by Cobb. Glad to see the move by the Packers being able to work that out. They have a good receiving corps, good passing scheme, good thing going offensively. Don't want to tweak the offense too much right now in Green Bay.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what it is. Sometimes it's not about money, and it's a good fit. Sometimes if you're in a situation where it's a good fit, makes sense to stay there.
Yeah, another good fit that made sense to stay there, at least for a while, was Andre Johnson in Houston.
Yes.
But they were not able to move him. He's had injuries over the last few years. Obviously, it is time to move on as he's kind of gotten past the elite point of his career, the climactic point of his career. So they have decided to release him instead.
Yeah, he's still got a lot of game left. The guy can still contribute. He's still a dynamic wide receiver. But you're right. His days of being the elite guy, the best wide receiver in the NFL, I think, are now probably over. But yeah, the guy can still contribute, and I'm actually, for one, I'm really excited to see who he lands with, because I think he's going to make some other team a lot better.
He'll make a great complimentary receiver. You know? And
absolutely, and I think he'll be happier too, because for the longest time with Houston, it was Andre Johnson, and that was it. That was all they had as far as wide receivers. And here he has a chance to go on a team where he can actually make the playoffs and do something. Yeah. So I think it's going to be a good opportunity for him.
And maybe have a decent quarterback throwing the ball to him.
Yes, absolutely.
That situation has not gotten any better in Houston.
Dumpster fire.
Houston's dumpster fire, yes, that continues. Ryan Mallett, they re-signed. They have signed Brian Hoyer.
Hoyer, yes, the guy who beat out Johnny Manziel for the Browns.
And they beat out a guy who's in rehab still.
Congratulations.
Yeah, still in rehab. January 28th, he went in, still hanging out.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe a little bit deeper rooted than we thought.
Yeah, well, you know what? I'm glad he's getting the help he needs.
Well, okay. I just want to see how it finishes, to be honest with you.
The tale is yet to be told on that one. Well, like you said, we'll see how he is when he comes out. But for now, I'm trying to be the optimist here and say, good on you.
It's like House of Cards, only I only want to watch the last episode. I don't care.
I just want to see what happens. Just tell me the end. Just flash forward, skip 2. Come on.
So Andre Johnson, he's gone. And then the Hoyer and Tebow. They might be bringing Tebow on, too.
Really?
You see this?
I heard he's throwing really well. Somebody said he's throwing accurately, which that surprised me.
I'm going to leave it at that. All right, let's move on. I don't want to get into the Tebow talk because I can get, we can joke about that all day. But essentially, yeah, they're bringing in another 200 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. I mean, these are the mediocre quarterbacks that they continue to bring in there.
Yeah,
what a waste of roster
if
space.
I were a Houston Texan fan, I'd be mighty upset. That's for sure.
Maybe try to trade for an established or Nick Folk.
Yeah,
the Eagles may be willing to get rid of Nick Foles.
Yeah, former Arizona quarterback, absolutely.
Yeah, Folk. What I said. Yeah, Nick Foles. Anyhow, let's get back to the Eagles just for a touch. I forgot about him. Jeremy Maclin. That's a big loss on the receiving corps.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he went to play for his old coach, Andy Reid, I believe, in Kansas City.
Yeah, so he goes to play for Andy Reid in Kansas City. Hopefully, he will become the first wide receiver in the Andy Reid, Alex Smith era to catch a touchdown pass. Is that what?
Something like that.
I think they had one the prior season, but this season.
It might have been preseason. We're not sure.
Oh, my gosh. Are you kidding me? Not a single running back or wide receiver caught a touchdown pass.
We don't like this newfangled throwing the ball offense. We like the old smash mouth run up the middle.
What do you do? Tuck and run. Tuck and run. Don't be throwing the ball. That's crazy, man.
You and your gimmicks. We're just going to run for our touchdowns.
And then finally, one other note there. Brian Hartline goes to the Browns. So they're revamped already. Moving on. Okay, we're done with free agency. One thing I want to do is also talk about the Niners, though, because Niners are close to you. They have been one of the busier teams, and not necessarily for all the good things.
No, they started off free agency so well, getting Dockett from the Arizona Cardinals, coming off surgery and everything. But like we were talking about in the break here, if he's even half the player that he was when he was record setting, he's going to be an amazing fit for the Niners. Started off so well, and since then it has just gone downhill in a hurry. Frank Gore, of course, flirting with the Eagles. Now it sounds like he might be going. Right now, he might be going to Indianapolis. They're probably going to lose 2 key defensive starters to retirement. Patrick Wills, linebacker, Pro Bowl linebacker Patrick Wills is going to retire, it sounds like. And now 14-year veteran defensive lineman Justin Smith sounds like he might retire.
Justin Smith, he was kind of already thinking about it.
Sure,
so
14 years, that's a long career.
That wasn't too much of a surprise. The Patrick Willis is a little bit more of a surprise.
Very much
although
so.
He's had the injuries over the last couple of years, so that's kind of really maybe factoring into that, and maybe he doesn't like the direction of where the team's going. Maybe doesn't want to be with another team. Maybe he'll fall with Oakland if he decides to get out but wants to stay in the Bay Area.
Wants to stay where, yeah, absolutely.
Could be one of those situations there. But they're really taking a hit. Then what they have done some addition. Oh, they also lost Mike Lapata as well to the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Top offensive lineman as far as free agency market this year. But they did get 2 additions that I know of that could go far. Jerome Simpson.
Which could be good. You said that with some sarcasm in your voice.
They get rid of Jim Harbaugh to start things. Okay? The character, the poise that he brought in terms of they said they didn't like the way they were the way they were winning or the attitude that they were winning with or whatever.
Right.
And then they bring in Jerome Simpson, who's been
I know all those off-field
arrested
issues
3
that
or
they're
4
trying to
times.
correct. So that sounds about right.
Mixed messages here.
Well, right, because you're exactly right. They said they're trying to clean everything up and win the right way, win the Niner way, which I appreciate.
Clean it up, not clean it out.
But you're right. Then they go and make a move like that, and it kind of goes contrary to everything they just said. Well, and then I believe just today, fullback Bruce Miller was arrested for spousal battery.
Yeah.
Just, my poor Niners.
So it's not getting good.
They're not having a good offseason.
But they may have the future of the NFL as we know it. Jared Hayne, the rugby player. They signed the rugby player.
Well, then
they beat out Detroit and they beat out Seattle. They signed him. Jared Hayne, your new star. Get your Jared Hayne jerseys now.
But don't tuck them in. Don't you dare tuck those jerseys in.
Because he's a rugby player. They definitely don't. They do a half tuck, don't they?
I believe
they
so,
kind of have a half tuck by the time the game's over. Anyhow. You think they'll have a special rugby T-shirts for any of the nights?
I think they'd be foolish not to.
Yeah, you got to promote that. Make some money off of that.
I think maybe I'll start wearing my Niner rugby jersey.
All right, so let's get to the NBA real quick, just to take a look at some of these headlines and these standings that we have here. We've seen quite a bit of movement in terms of just some teams kind of falling in the West. We'll start with the Western Conference, which has mainly remained the same, getting down to it. Next week, we'll kind of get a little bit more intense as we get closer to playoffs, but we still have Golden State in there looking fairly sharp. They're on a 3 games, 7-3 over their last 10. Memphis still hanging in there, although they've had a little bit of struggles as of late, but still 6-4 over the last 10 in second place. Houston, Portland, Clippers, that's kind of the junction area.
All within a half game of each other, essentially, 3, 4, and 5 spot.
What surprised me, though, is Dallas continuing to struggle and be consistent, I should say.
I think they're having some growing pains with Rajon Rondo, for
who's
sure.
shooting 31% from the line.
Yeah, they're still looking for their... Yeah, that's pretty...
When I first heard that, he's at like a 65% shooter.
You're a professional?
Yeah. How do you go down like that?
Yeah, because that has nothing to do with injury or anything. That's just focus and concentration. Free throws are the easiest points that are allowed.
I don't know. Maybe he just needs to start doing some Hank Gather stuff or something.
shoot
I'm
with
not
your
sure.
offhand, son.
Yeah, it's that time of year. It's the it's the anniversary of the Hank Gather. Maybe you should start shooting
lefty, do Bo Kimball style.
Yeah. So we have San Antonio as well. The teams in Dallas are really the surprises for me. San Antonio is on a 5-game win streak, but you take away that 5 games. Prior to that, they were 35-23 in really bad shape. New Orleans can easily kind of slide up into that spot. 5 games behind San Antonio, up and coming. They're 8-2 on their last 10 on a hot streak. So
there's time. There's still most teams have about 20-ish games left, 21 games left. So yeah, the moves are going to have to. This is crunch time now. Moves are going to have to be made very, very quickly. But you're right. New Orleans could still be a factor in there. They're only a half a game behind Oklahoma City for the 8 spot. So
right now, if New York finished the season undefeated, they could still capture the last playoff spot. If
that is just sad. Then what would they do with their number 1 pick that they're going to get? Oh, they'd trade it, right?
But getting back to the East, looks like Indiana has jumped into the top 8 now, so they're kind of have gotten things together there.
Yeah, they've won 5 in a row as well.
We're seeing some slipping and sliding between Indiana, Charlotte, Miami, and Boston, up and down in flux. But let's be honest, outside of the top 4 in this league, because really Washington has shown that they are not.
No, they're 3-7 over their last 10 games.
Milwaukee with the injuries
also
to their youth.
3-7 over their last 10 games,
Burton
both
there.
falling.
Chicago has been able to continue to maintain Toronto having a little bit of trouble. Cleveland on a sharp rise, and Atlanta already clinched up a playoff spot. So those top 4 teams in the Eastern Conference are really the only focal points for them.
Yeah, you're right. It's those 4 and then everybody else. It's really not a contest. It's going to be one of those 4 teams, those top 4 in the East, that's going to make it to the finals. And there's no discussion otherwise.
Those 4 and everybody else will be the story pretty soon here as we get close to the big dance. That's right. They have the prequel games, I guess. What do you call those those 4 games before they really start? Because it's field of 68 now.
The prequel games. I like that.
Oh my god!
Yeah,
I hate these play-in games. I'm not a big fan of them.
I like the idea that they've tried to be more inclusive in the tournament. I appreciate where they're coming from, but you're right that to have these teams play on a Tuesday and then have them turn around and play again on a Thursday, and it seems awful weird.
You're messing with my mind and you're messing with my emotions. All right, we're going to have our NCAA discussion talk coming up in a bit, plus our brand new tidbit that we have for you, our new feature. That's right. I haven't even teased it as far as what it is, but I have to tell you, it's going to be refreshing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I can't wait to find
that. You might already know. All right, so we have that. Be sure to check us out and email us as well, radiohondo@gmail.com, and visit our site, listen to our shows, podcast it, share it along with all your friends, and spread the word. NCAA and our latest and newest feature coming up in segment 3 on the Flashback.